Hey, all you wanderlusters and hometown heroes. This is Remain, Roam, Return, podcast that pits your hometown lifestyle against the allure of far-off frontiers. In the show, we are going to try to settle the age-old debate on whether it is better to be the local legend or the one that got away.
And we are your hosts. I am Christian.
And I am Damien.
And together, we are going to spend each episode trying to discover which lifestyle truly is best. Is it better to stay close to the roots that raised you, or to fly away into the unknown?
Yep, and during these conversations, we will be discussing personal experiences and asking guests for their input to decide once and for all whether it is better to remain, roam, or return. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Triple R Podcast. Today we have another really special guest here. We have Scott with us from Entropy. How
Hello.
you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys doing? All okay?
Yeah,
good.
doing
Nice.
well. It's early for me, so you'll have to excuse me. I got the bags under my eyes.
I love how you say it's early. It's only 11 a.m. Like, it's 11 a.m. It's not like you woke up at like 6 a.m.
Well, everyone knows that in order for me to podcast correctly, I need like 17 hours of sleep.
You need a good rest for it.
Oh, absolutely.
He does.
And I need to tie on a nice buzz, and that's hard to do at 11 a.m.
Well, you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning.
I was like, wait, what? You don't say that. You don't say that. Anyways, actually, that's a great segue already. So because we have Scott here, he's in the band Entropy.
Yep.
And I believe you guys are from Kent. Is
Yeah,
that
we're
correct?
from Kent. Yeah. So that's south
Perfect. And
south of
speaking
England.
South of England. And
Yeah.
speaking of drinking, you just dropped a new EP,
hmm
right?
Yeah, we did. We dropped it on Friday. And yeah, so we did one single from it so far, we did one single from it originally, which is called Batteries, and that came out a month ago. It came out on the 1st of November, and then at the end of the month, we dropped the full EP with the other 3 songs on it.
And the EP is Drunken Nights and Warning Lights,
It
which
is,
I
yeah.
find nice because I like a good rhyme, but also it feels like you've been spying on me a little
Yes.
bit. Drunken Nights and Warning Lights is like a theme in my life, so I feel a little attacked right now.
Yeah, no, and it makes me think of when you say warning light. So I'm not sure if it has a different meaning. So like in the U.S., when I hear warning light, I think of like me and Damien both. It's kind of a theme of this podcast. Both had really shitty cars growing up because to get anywhere in the States, essentially, public transportation doesn't exist, and so
Yeah.
we always had shitty cars. So we always had warning lights on, which is not a.
You always had
And the,
engine lights and
Yeah.
all that coming up on it.
yep.
Always. So let's get into it a little bit here. So as you know, because I gave you the breakdown, but maybe some of the listeners don't know, the theme of this podcast truly is whether or not it's better to live in your hometown, whether it's better to move away and explore maybe some new places, or whether it's better to explore new places and then come back to your hometown. So
All right.
let's get to know you a little bit. And would you say that you're a hometown hero or somebody that moved away?
Oh, well, I mean, definitely, personally, I prefer hometown. I love, I love playing gigs and shows where we're from, and sometimes, it's a little bit further to go and travel to play a show or something. But even personally, I love just being at home, I suppose, as opposed to being away from it.
So, are you originally from Kent and still in Kent?
No, I mean, I grew up in London originally, and then we moved
Okay.
down to Kent when I think I was 13 or 14-ish. But we lived in South Africa for 2 years as well, just because my
Wow.
parents are South African.
Whoa.
Wow.
Can you dive into that
but
a
yeah.
little bit? I'm super curious about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so both of my parents are South African, but they met in England, and then I guess, that's where then I grew up, where they decided to raise a family and stuff. So that's just yeah. So then I was born in London, and then we moved down to Kent.
Okay, so you didn't act like you yourself didn't spend any like memorable years in South Africa then, right?
I mean, yeah, I spent 2 years there, although I can't, it was kind of an age where I couldn't really remember. I can remember bits of it,
Yeah.
obviously, but not all of it, I suppose. Um,
Do you
Yeah.
go back there like frequently at all to like see
yeah, because we
family or
still got
anything like
family
that?
there. Yeah, so
Yeah.
still got family there. So go and see family every so often. Yeah, which is nice.
How is it like traveling like back and forth? Because like South Africa, I don't think we've
That's a
had.
long way.
Yeah, we haven't had
Yeah.
anyone from South Africa,
I don't
and
even know anybody who's been to South Africa.
yeah,
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice place. Obviously, but yeah, long flight, definitely.
yeah. Do your parents speak like what is the language? Afrikaan? Is that it?
Afrikaans.
Like where it's like a
They had
weird.
to learn it at school, but
Yeah.
I think it was more of a chore that they had to do at school as opposed to an actual interest in any way.
It it is such a unique language because I worked with someone
Definitely,
who
yeah.
was from South Africa, and I was like, he was like speaking at one time, like I like interrupted him in his office, and he was like talking to his parents who were back in South Africa, and like
Hmm.
it is because it's like this weird hybrid of like Dutch and like
Yeah,
local
definitely.
African language, and it's
I don't know
like
if you can call it
Hmm.
weird, Christian. I think that's I think that's inappropriate.
I think we
No,
are
no,
because the
no
Dutch
offense
are now.
taken.
Yeah. No, the
It's
Dutch are weird.
it's unique. How about that to
Definitely.
be
It's
PC?
there you go. That's more PC.
Mm, yeah. You got away with it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Nice recovery.
Mm.
So, like growing up, like being around your parents, did you ever have like more of a like South African accent, or do your parents still have like a South
Um,
African
I mean,
accent?
obviously, that's a good question actually. I mean, it's quite hard for me to tell personally, but
Yeah.
but my friends and the boys from the band always do say that my
Yeah.
parents do. But yeah, I don't really notice it, but I'd easily notice it on like someone else if I spoke to them. But
Yeah.
I guess just because I
Sure.
always hear them talk, so
And yeah, and even like the like British South African accent is interesting to me, at least.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
this again going back. It's like almost Australian, but not
I know
quite
what you mean.
Australian
There's especially
as
like with
well.
with New Zealand accent, there are kind of some similarities in
Yeah,
that
Hmm.
sense. Still definitely a difference,
yeah,
but definitely similarities
yeah,
there as well.
Yeah, I've always felt like the South African British is a little softer.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's a
Especially
little bit
like
of a
all the vowels
softer
kind of get,
accent.
yeah, all
yeah,
the
Yeah,
vowels get
yeah, I've
flattened and
noticed
that
that as
kind of
well.
stuff. Yeah. But it's
yeah.
definitely a cool
Me,
Well,
one to hear.
that's
yeah, me and my wife in the States, the Bake Off just ended. The like season
yes.
finale just
Oh,
had
okay,
ended.
yeah.
And so one of the judges, Prue, is South African, and so
Oh, right. Okay.
Way to connect, Christian.
Yeah, there we go.
yes, dude, we
You
love
know, I,
Bake
I
Off.
watch I watch a TV show with a South African. I know what's going
What's it
on.
called?
Exactly.
What's it called?
Hey, we
Get in on this.
do you watch Bake Off? Is Bake Off like in
Uh,
the States? Bake Off is like like a baking Great British Baking Show.
yeah, I
The
mean,
names change.
we've got Great British Bake Off here with like Mary Berry and I want to say Paul Hollywood. I don't know if he's on it or if
Yep.
that's another one. But
Yeah.
I don't really watch it personally, but I guess it is a thing. It's one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the same show and like I would say like people love it over here, which is so interesting. I think
Oh,
it's because
really?
Hmm.
like Americans we like romanticize British culture still, but like in the essence of like that and like the like king and like queen like royalty, but not like we completely gloss over like chavs exist
Hmm.
and like that kind of British part of it. We only like the posh parts apparently. So
Yeah.
Here's a question I've never asked before, talking about Great British Bake Off and such. So you said you don't watch that much. what we do a lot of times on this podcast is we give like recommendations of anything that we have been enjoying lately. Is there any
Mhm.
shows that you would recommend right now that you're into?
Ooh, that's good. What I've watched recently at the moment is The Penguin, which is like the
Yes.
one from the Batman, and they did
Yeah.
the spin-off show of it. I haven't finished it yet, but
Mhm.
I'm really enjoying that so far. And I know it ended recently. It ended a week or two ago. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's like quality. I'm really loving that so far. I feel like it's got everything great about the film, but still in the show. Like they don't let any part of it down.
Yeah, Colin Farrell is
Yeah,
just
we
Yeah,
both
he's
love it.
incredible.
quality. Yeah.
So
Whew.
is it still like through
Yeah.
HBO over there?
Yeah,
Okay. I wasn't
Yes,
sure.
I think so. Yeah, it is.
I think it's
It's
technically just called Max now.
oh, that's true.
No HBO.
Oh,
It
okay.
it it, it is funny though, because like sometimes like shows that I know are actually like Channel 4 shows, an
Right.
American like
Yeah.
TV station will pick them up here and be like, new original. I was like, bullshit. That's been on in the UK for a few seasons.
Mm.
Don't
I guess
try that,
you
Netflix.
get lots of like the remakes almost like they do like an American
Mhm.
version of like an
Yep.
English show.
The amount of Americans whose favorite TV show is The Office and have no idea that it's a
Oh
remake
yeah.
from
Yeah.
the British version is insane.
But to be fair, I guess like
Shameless.
that yeah, Shameless as well. I don't know
Yep.
which one was first that with that one. Was that the English version or the American
Yeah.
version
The
was
English
first?
version.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
See, the
But yeah, like
problem
The
though is
Office
there.
people talk about it like the same level, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, do you prefer the English version or the US version?
Do
Yeah.
you know is the English version as popular as the American version is in America?
Oh, I don't know, like I think it's kind of one of those ones where people I don't know. I've never actually watched the whole thing through. I've watched bits and pieces like here and there, but I think I know the American version better than I know the English version with The Office.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and the I watched the English version first. Um and it's really short compared to the American. American feels like it has a
Oh,
bajillion
really?
seasons. And I think the
Hmm.
UK version's maybe 2 or 3. It's fair, and then
Yeah.
like the very British thing of only having 8 episodes a season.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We do not have a lot over here, and
Yeah. Yeah, the problem with the American Office and like American Shameless was like people were like, "Oh, British shows do really well in America," and then there were a lot of failed ones. Like, you're a little bit younger than us, but the In-Betweeners,
no,
they tried to
I
make an
mean,
American
yeah,
version of that,
yeah,
completely
yeah,
failed.
everyone, yeah, that's the one that kind of people talk about, where it's like the English version is definitely better.
Yeah, and I think they tried to make an American version of Skins,
Oh my god,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
That was rough.
but
The original Skins is great though.
yes, based out of Bristol. Yeah, and so
Okay.
So here's another question. I'm going to put you on the spot because another thing that we do, not only do we do recommendations, which you gave the Penguin, which is a fantastic
yes,
recommendation.
fantastic.
The other thing that we do is called peeves, which is like pet peeves. So
All right.
do you have anything that's been bothering you lately?
In general,
Just in general,
Yep.
something that happens and you're like, it doesn't.
and
It
it's like
just
that really
bothers me.
like
I don't know why.
grinds my gears kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Coming on an American podcast and them asking you
Yes.
about Great British Bake
Bake Off.
Off.
Yeah, and maybe expecting me to have a cup of tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, you offered that
No,
information
no.
up all on your own.
I
We didn't
suggested it.
force
I was
you.
the one who suggested it, so that's
Yeah.
nothing on you guys.
How
No,
about
I don't
train
think I'd do that.
prices?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean that's actually a great one. In fact, you know that you've actually just pulled that straight from my head. Yeah, no, train prices here are absolutely extortionate. Like even with a
Yeah,
rail card, it's
I
still like 70 quid to travel from one side of the country to the other.
Woo.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
buddy who lives more in like the Cornwall area wanted to go to London.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, it
Oh
would be
yeah.
cheaper for me to fly to Spain than to get a rail ticket
No,
within the
definitely.
country.
Yeah, especially like Cornwall, and as soon as you start going a little bit further out of London, like it's not so
Yeah.
bad from where we are. It's like maybe £12 to get into London, and it's like just less than an hour on
Oh,
the train. But like as soon as
yeah.
you go out to Cornwall, like we've been to Isaac, the guitarist, and I went to a music festival called Boardmasters in Cornwall,
Oh, yeah.
and that is so expensive on the train. And obviously it's so many people
Yeah.
trying to get there, so it's like whether you even get a train ticket or not, and it's always going to be such a nightmare to get to.
Yeah. It sounds like everyone in the UK big issue, right? Do you know?
Yeah.
I know this is a very deep question of like, why is it expensive? Like, is there a reason why like it just
Um,
got all expensive so quickly?
Yeah, solve the economy
I
crisis
I
in the UK for us.
I think it's just because it's all like owned by private companies, isn't it? But I think what the government are trying to
Yeah.
do now is like their long-term plan maybe is that they are trying to get it all owned by the government, I think. So
Yeah.
they can
Try
subsidize
to
it, maybe,
nationalize it.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah.
was something that we ran into because my wife and I, and then my best friend Keegan and his now fiance were just in Europe for a month, and we have
Mhm.
friends who live throughout the UK, and we were like, "Hey, we're going to be in London. Like, let's hang out." And they were like, where else are you going to go in your Europe trip? Because I would rather fly to meet you just about anywhere else than to travel into London." And so they willingly took a flight to Ireland, and then the other two willingly took a flight to Paris, as opposed to just meeting us in London because they were like,
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not
it's
paying that
probably
money
cheaper.
to go to
So
London."
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But I suppose for you
So
guys, do you guys just drive, right?
yeah,
We'll drive 16 hours.
it's
Yeah, and that'll be
it's
a
a like
no-brainer, won't it? That won't even be long.
yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's
It's not that bad, yeah.
yeah, no, it's because America is definitely set up to be more about driving. Like there is a
I guess,
train, but
the
like
roads are really straight and stuff.
yeah,
You know.
and like flying in the States versus flying in like just throughout Europe, like both me and Damien have done it, is so much more inexpensive. Like you can catch, like a
Really?
flight out of Stansted for like 20 pounds, right? Where like
Yeah.
the the cheapest flight in the States is gonna be like 100 pounds. Like
Really? Even for the
it would be
domestic
amazing.
ones?
Oh, I mean, for instance, like I live in Southern California, and Keegan,
Hmm.
who I told you we went to Europe with, he lives in Arizona,
Yeah.
which is literally just one state over, essentially.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's either a
Yeah.
6 hour drive or it's a 50-minute flight. And the 50-minute flight can range anywhere from $170 to $300.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
And then
that's a
and
lot,
then the
to be
price
fair.
of but the price of petrol here is so inexpensive because for like,
Hmm.
Really?
you
Yeah.
know, doing your equivalent, so like for a gallon, roughly 4 liters, I think for me I paid less than $3
Wow.
per
Yeah.
4 liters.
Yeah. It's definitely
So
more expensive here.
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned you grew up in London, but then moved to Kent, like when you were
14?
Yeah, I
a
think I was,
teenager,
yeah,
right?
around, yeah, early teens. Yeah.
Were How were you like cool with the move, or you're like, Mom and Dad, I hate you. You're making me leave.
That was a
Leaving the
pivotal
big
time to
city
move, by
to
the
Yeah,
way.
come to the
14 years
country.
old to
Yeah,
move is
definitely.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely wasn't 100% happy about it at the time, I suppose.
yeah,
But I mean, in the end, I really like it, and I really like Kent, and I like where we live now, I suppose, more so than how it was.
yeah. You go from like
How long
being in the city to like seeing sheep daily.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, sheep and cows and all of that.
Yeah.
That's
horses.
like
And,
growing up in the Midwest of the United States.
yeah, I can imagine.
I did see a cow today. I really did.
See, there you go. How long did it take you to adjust to that move? So you moved from London to Kent at about 14.
Mm,
How long would you say
probably
it took you to like get comfortable?
probably like a year fully, and then kind of started the band after maybe a year and a half, a year and a half or two, which kind of then I think really what made me start to like it because I kind of had friends through that, I suppose, more so.
That's actually really great to adjust within a year, and then
Yeah.
by the year and a half mark, you've not only made friends, but you've made a good enough friend to start a band with. Because
Yeah, I
if I'm
suppose
not
so.
mistaken, it started with just you and Isaac, right?
Yeah,
That's how it started.
yeah,
Uh, so that started about the year and a half mark of moving to Kent, right?
yeah, probably maybe a little bit longer. It was kind of
Okay.
as
Did you
lockdown
go
was
to the
just coming out.
same school?
Yeah, so that's how we
Oh yeah.
met. And then the same with Ben, our bassist, went to the same, so we all went to the same secondary school together. Um, and then we met Sam, our drummer, just by because we lost our old drummer, so we just put out a thing on Instagram like, "Oh,
Mhm.
we're looking for a new drummer, so anyone send us a little message." And then yeah, Sam got in contact with us through that, and then he
Nice.
just came and played a bit with us, and then yeah,
Yeah.
So as a musician, I have a question because I had a couple of bands throughout high school and
yeah.
throughout the like college years and stuff like that. And so a question that always plagues me because I had experience with it is, in your opinion, what is the most difficult musician to find for a band? So like for
Oh,
us, it was drummer.
I was gonna
yeah.
say that for my band
I
too.
yeah, I think still drummers to be fair, and they all play about as well. They all play in
Hmm.
different bands and stuff. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely
Yeah,
drummer.
they're
Yeah,
But
I think
I think we're very lucky with Sam.
no.
that's great. Yeah, because I think that's the thing that you just alluded to as well, which is I think drummers are just less common
Yeah.
Definitely,
to
yeah.
find, and so they're spoiled for choices, right? So every drummer that we ever knew was in like six
Yeah,
bands,
always.
and then they would just go back and forth between all the bands until one of them started getting more popular, and then they'd
Mm,
quit all the other ones,
yeah,
and so now
definitely.
five bands are left without a
With
drummer.
no drummer.
I I remember one time there was like a more like DIY scene concert I went to. It was like three different bands, same drummer for all three.
Oh yeah.
At least he doesn't have to pack down his kit in between sets. He just chills out and everyone else is plugging in their pedal boards and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's yeah. I honestly think it's because obtaining a full drum kit and then like being okay with having to move it all the
Yeah,
time, and
no,
then
I know. I
also
can imagine
having like
that's a lot of effort.
and then having like parents who are fully okay with it, or you have like some place to actually play them,
Yeah,
is
definitely.
Hmm.
very hard.
Yeah.
So I think maybe a couple more questions about the theme of the podcast. I was curious because you moved at a very pivotal point in your life. So
Hmm.
at like 14 years old, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to see, because you grew up in London, could you take us through what does that look like growing up in London? Like what did you do for fun? What were some of your hobbies? What did you think your future was going to look like growing up in London?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like I wasn't really too in terms of music as well, like I wasn't really ever too into music when I lived in London. So nothing to do with my hobbies was really like centered around that. I mean, I think, I played keyboard then, but it was only after I moved and um then especially after lockdown was when I kind of properly started liking music. So I think when I lived in London, it was nothing really to do with the music. I mean, especially going back now when we play gigs and stuff there, it's definitely like it would have been cool if I was, I kind of think. And it's kind of, I feel like I almost did miss out on that like ease of just being able to, take the tube to any gig venue in the city. And there's so many. That's what's nice about it, is that I could have theoretically gone to, you know, 2 or 3 gigs a week if, you know, if I had the time for it, I suppose, which would have been nice when I lived in London. But I guess in Kent, it's a bit more of an effort, I suppose, to
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to kind of to get up to London and stuff for to go and see a gig or something like that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about like 14-year-old me. Me and both Damien grew up in like, in the, not the countryside, but, equivalent kind of thing
Yeah.
of like, if my parents were like in like New York or LA and then made me
hmm
move to the countryside, I would have not handled that well. But it sounds like
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
handled it
definitely
pretty
didn't. I
decently.
didn't. Yeah, I mean, I still like didn't like it at the time, I suppose. I liked
Yeah.
the busy city, I suppose, but I think I kind of prefer the
Yeah.
country now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is like you probably went from maybe like not even having like a garden to having a
Yeah,
huge garden.
definitely. Yeah,
And
I guess it's a lot
for
easier.
American listeners, when I say garden, I'm using in the UK tense of what we would call a yard.
A yard.
A yard. Yes.
Which also is not to be confused with the measurement of a yard, which
True.
is 3
We're
feet.
not getting into this, Damien. We already had the pound debate.
Scott, tell us what you think about U.S. measurements.
Yes.
Well, I
Imagine
mean,
if that was
to
our
be fair,
podcast.
yeah, that's the whole talking point. To be fair, like, people, you guys say feet and inches still, don't you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so. I mean, people definitely say, especially when they're talking about height, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot, da da da. I'm 5 foot, da da da. It's like an easy way that people can visualize it. I think other than that, I don't like it though.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
And
though.
then you throw in
I'm
the
embarrassed
term,
to say it.
you throw in the term stone, and I still don't
Oh yeah,
like
people.
that
Yeah,
one. Still,
people
like
here
I've tried.
use stone. I mean, I definitely don't mess with stone one bit. Like, I don't. Yeah, it's definitely kgs. I mean,
Yeah.
people do say
Mhm.
stone, but like I just don't get it. Like, stones come in all different shapes and sizes, so what's it gonna be, you know?
Speaking of stones, what do you think of the Rolling
Rolling
Stones?
Stones. That's a good.
What?
That's a good question. I guess, like classic
See?
British band. Um, Paint It Black's a Paint It Black.
Yeah.
Paint It Black is a banger. That's probably my favorite song by
Mhm.
then.
Goddamn right.
By them. I've listened here and there, but probably not up there with my favorites, I suppose. But
And to shut Christian up because he just gave me the worst face in the world. The reason I said it that way is because I wanted to ask what your first concert was, since you didn't grow up
that's a
listening to
good
music. What was your first
question.
concert?
My
That's
first
3.
No, the
3 good
Rolling
questions.
Stone question.
That's 3 good questions, Christian.
No.
Take note, bitch.
They get Rolling Stone question gets cut out because why of all
What?
Do you
He
think
said
that one? Do you
Stone.
think
I
that?
said
Do you think
Rolling
that one
Stones.
was
That's
a bit too
great.
generous to give a good question to?
Oh,
I think
I don't.
I think
it was
the
perfect.
I
concert
think
one
the
is
concert
indefinitely a good
question
question. That is a good one.
concert's a good question, but it gets negated because of how bad the Rolling Stone
You can't
question
say that word anymore, dude.
All right, I
negated.
think
Wow, that's 2.
my first concert though was, I think, the first like concert that I actually like bought a ticket to, like, oh yeah, I definitely want to go and see this artist, was The Killers, just out of
Ooh.
lockdown at, I think it was the Emirates Stadium in London, I think.
Nice.
That was, yeah, that was my
that is
first.
a killer first concert.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it was. I mean, they are incredible live. Like, I almost felt
Mhm.
that they're almost too good. They almost just play exactly how the recording is. There's not like a single mistake throughout their whole
Yeah.
set. It's just so clean.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw the Killers, but in like a very unique setting. It was like it was when I lived in Detroit, Michigan, but it was like in a way too nice of a theater for them to be
Mhm.
Oh,
playing in
really?
versus like actual like concert venue. It was like a like
Had the
you
theatre
know
been converted to like a gig venue or no?
it was still like what you would find on like the West End kind of
Oh,
theater,
okay,
like
yeah.
that kind of theater, which was interesting. It was really good. It was amazing. But you're like looking around, you're like, this feels too
It's
nice
too nice.
of a venue for like what they like. Again, I love the Killers, but it was just like a weird thing. You're like, I feel like I should be watching like Matilda right
Yeah,
now.
a musical of sorts or something.
Yes.
Yeah, but I feel like
Bring out the chocolate cake.
you want it to be like a proper gig venue where you go to the toilet and they're like stickers on the walls and it smells and that kind of stuff.
Speaking of which, make sure you look in all of your public restrooms in California, Nebraska, and Phoenix for the Remain Rome return stickers.
Yes.
Or is that what
They're
is that what
everywhere.
they are?
Oh yeah, we always put them in the public restrooms or at grocery stores.
Oh, nice.
Those are
Yeah,
I mean, allegedly.
we always put ours up in any like gig venue where we're playing. In
I kind of want
Oh
to,
yeah.
yeah.
Damien.
If
I'm gonna
you
guess
send some
our.
over, and we'll do a sticker
Ooh.
swap, and I'll put some up.
That'd be.
And
Oh yeah, send us,
Yes.
yeah,
and we'll send you.
yeah,
Because we're actually almost out, so we need to order
perfect.
more.
And
So
then
let's do a sticker exchange.
I'll send you some, and then perfect. Sounds great.
We'll
That'd be perfect.
Damien, where was your first? I'm gonna guess, Damien, your first concert venue was the same as mine.
My first concert venue, I believe, was at a venue that no longer exists.
That's sad, to be fair.
The Ranch.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I saw my very first concert was at the Ranch with a local rap metal band called the Vernaculars. They still fucking rule, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't you laugh at Vernaculars. They're cool. But my uncle went to high school with them
Okay.
and got free tickets to the show, so he took me along.
Oh, that's cool.
And literally from that point was just like, I think I was 8.
Wow. You got to
8
go
years
to music
old.
early.
Oh yeah, there's a reason I've been obsessed with music for so long.
So
Yeah, that is
the
quite
Ranch
young,
Bowl
too.
Yeah,
was amazing. It was the best like kind of DIY place.
yeah.
Mhm.
It was
Rest in
technically
peace.
a bowling alley, but
Yeah.
after a certain time, I think it was after like 8, it was a music venue, and
Okay,
like,
cool.
it was mostly like DIY bands. Like
Yeah,
again, it's in a
that's
bowling
nice.
alley, but it was also kind of like, how you guys are touring and through like different cities throughout the UK. It was a good like Midwest stopping point, and so like
Yeah.
I didn't get to
Yeah,
go.
the regional bands
Yeah.
would go there.
hmm
And like there'd be a few that ended up making it. Like I didn't get to go. I have a sister who's a few years older, but like she got to see Fall Out Boy at the
Oh,
Ranch
really?
Bowl,
Oh, that's sick.
and then
Yeah.
ended up
Fall
like
Out Boy, Bright Eyes.
yeah, right,
Mhm.
Bright Eyes started in our hometown,
yeah,
and that's where they played a lot.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
311.
Yeah. So my first concert was at Sokol, Damien, which holds a very
Which is now the Admiral.
yeah, yeah. It's a really cool local venue place.
Who was it? Who'd you see?
It was a local band called Straight Out of Junior High.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They used to play with Grasshopper Takeover.
They
all the
did.
Time.
Yep, that's partially why I went, was because my
Yeah.
sister knew someone in Grasshopper Takeover, and so
Anyways, enough of our life.
yes, very.
Nobody
long
wants to hear
holidays.
about that. They want to hear about you.
Yeah.
So you guys just dropped an EP,
Yes.
Yeah.
and can you tell us? So the song that just dropped, if I'm not mistaken, is Batteries. Is that right?
Yeah. So that was the one that came out at the start of November, and then the rest of the EP
That's
came
right.
out on Friday.
How long did it take you to decide? First of all, how long did it take you to decide that these are the songs that we're releasing on the EP?
Yeah,
And then how long did it take you to actually release it?
that's interesting. I actually can't remember when we made. I don't know if we ever like sat down and made a definitive like decision that these are the songs that were gonna make it onto the EP. And these ones aren't. I think. I mean, I guess we must have decided it before we recorded it at some point. We must have had that discussion, but I reckon. So we
Because
record.
I assume you have more
Yeah,
songs.
yeah.
Right?
So we yeah. I think we decided that probably at the start of the summer, and then we recorded the EP in mid to late August, and then got it mixed and mastered just over the course of um, September, um, September, October, November. And then yeah, I think we released Batteries first because we had some gigs around that time and kind of wanted something to promote whilst we were playing. That's I think why we made the decision to drop drop it as a single first, and then
Mhm.
had this one come out so that we could promote this over our had the EP come out so that we could promote this over our December dates.
Nice. You kind of mentioned earlier you formed the band before lockdown, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then how was it like kind of were you guys still like working on stuff like through lockdown? I know
I think so.
you in the UK was more locked down than us in the States for sure.
Right. I think so because we were kind of, if I remember correctly, we were kind of like dipping in and out of lockdowns. Like there were different restrictions getting,
Mhm.
lifted and then put back on. So I think it was kind of in one of those breaks where we started kind of, when, we were allowed to meet, when it was kind of like, oh, let's get together and start doing some stuff. And it was like mainly covers at first, just to kind of
Mhm.
get the hang of it, because it was the first time that anyone had really played music together, um,
Mhm.
aside from just like stuff at school, just in like some of the practice rooms and stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, obviously, yeah, it started slow at first, and I guess lockdown didn't really help that.
I actually have a question. So I know Batteries was like your main drop, right?
Hmm.
But the one that drew me in the most, and it drew me in because of the title at first, but then I listened to the song and I enjoyed it. Actually, not to cause a rift in the podcast, but more than Batteries.
Hmm.
Um, it's called Move. It's called Move Away,
Move away. Yeah.
and I wanted to, because you're on Remain Rome Return. I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
is that about what I think it's about, or is it about something completely different?
I mean, he's
Um,
not a mind reader. He
do
doesn't know what you think.
He knows what the podcast
do
is
you,
about. Is it
as
about
in,
moving away or is it not?
yeah, I don't necessarily think that it's like inherently about physically moving away. I think maybe it's more about just any kind of change, whether that is, physically moving, um, or not, whether things are just changing, I suppose.
So it's more about moving on.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan. I have no idea if this was any influence, but I hear a little bit of like David Bowie or like the
Oh yeah.
Ramones in that
Okay.
song. And so was curious if that was any like are you guys influenced by those bands at all or like in general like what bands would you say influence you guys?
Yeah, that's a good that's a good one. I think
One for
yeah,
me.
I'd never really heard. Oh yeah, there's one for you.
Yeah. Yep.
You still
Hey,
got to
if
catch
that
up. You got
counts,
to catch up
I
though.
have three.
Yeah.
You got 2.5.
If that
So
counts, I have three. Okay,
two
two and a
two
half.
and a half.
I'll take that.
1.5 to go, bitch.
There you go. You'll get him. I think
Hmm.
that what was oh yeah yeah, I never really heard David Bowie or the Ramones for that one. But that's definitely yeah. Maybe I'll hear it in a new way now. Um, I think the other bands that we kind of, or that I feel like when I'm writing a song, I feel like um, the Hives dropped their new or new-ish album
Hmm.
year or year ago, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
that especially for Batteries was quite a big influence just on it. We wanted
Yeah.
that like big sounding intro to it, which the Hives do pretty well. And obviously they have an incredible live show, so it's always great to like kind of take some influence from them. They're so entertaining live. What else? we kind of, I think for Move Away, I kind of felt that it fell more almost towards more of like a pop punky kind of sound.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Hmm.
so like obviously Isaac and I quite like bands such as like Blink 182, and obviously because they're like American bands, we're never really
Yeah.
going to sound
Yeah.
fully like them, but maybe
Yeah.
with an English twist, I suppose.
Hmm. So yeah, with that, are you fans of like Neck Deep? Because that's like when I think of
Yeah,
like
Neck Deep
British
are
pop
quite. I
punk.
Yeah, I'd never really heard of them before, but then I just start to see them on like more and more of like those festival
Yeah.
lineups. They're doing, I don't know, are they doing Slam Dunk this? They either did it last year or they're doing it
Yeah.
this coming year. And I just started to see
Yeah.
them on like more and more festival lineups. I've never like had a good listen myself
Yeah.
personally, but probably
Yeah. No.
one that's worth listening to.
Yeah. Back before lockdown, they opened up for Blink 182, and so
Oh,
that's how I
really?
found out about them.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then later found out they're from Wrexham, which I've
Oh,
talked
really?
ad
I
nauseum.
didn't realize that they were from there.
Yeah. And so yeah, when I think of like some of the first British pop punk band I think of is
Yeah.
always them. So yeah, definitely give them a
Yeah.
listen.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
pretty
Definitely
good.
one to check out then, I think.
So you guys are. I know at the time of this recording, it's current, but by the time this comes out, it will have passed. But you guys are currently on a tour right now, right? You're doing a couple of
Yeah,
shows
we've
here
got
until
a
I believe
couple.
like December
Um,
15th.
yeah, we've got a couple dates lined up for December. So we've got one in London on the 6th. So next Friday, which is we're supporting a guy called Joel Foster, and it's our first gig with. So there's this record label called Scruff of the Neck, and it's our first gig with their like live section of it. So should be
Nice.
quite a good one. Hopefully get a good impression in. Hopefully, um, and
Yeah.
then we've got one on the 15th of December. We're playing the Tunbridge Wells Forum, which is like our local gig venue. It's like a 250 capacity one. It's like our favorite place in the world to play.
Yeah.
And usually like these end of the year ones. We had a headline show there last December, and it was like pretty good turnout. So hopefully we'll get the same kind of thing again.
And you guys are already playing headline gigs.
Yeah, yeah. So we played in over the summer. We did a little headline series of shows. We did London and Brighton, um, and just going back and forth between them. We played, I think, London maybe two or three times over the summer. We played the Forum again, and then we played in Brighton once.
How many shows are you playing on average per month?
Um, I guess in summer it's usually a lot more, just because you kind of get more opportunities with. There's a lot more on, I suppose. I think in August we did five, but it's been like quite a bit less recently.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess December's another decent month as well for it, where everyone's always getting ready for Christmas and stuff. So look to get a few
Yeah.
more booked in for them.
Out of outside of the Southwest, where else would you guys like want to play? Like go on tour? Are you wanting to do like a
Yeah, I
like
think
full
definitely,
UK tour?
definitely. Always like up north towards like Manchester and Sheffield. They've always got like a nice music scene up there.
Yeah.
I mean, they always have, and it would be lovely to play further up there. Um, And I guess, or it's like the cities are a little bit closer together up there, so it's a little bit
Hmm.
easier between like
Yeah.
Sheffield, Manchester, Liverpool. It's an easier route, I suppose. So it'd be nice to get playing up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get up there, pay the 500-pound train ticket to get
Yeah,
up there
definitely.
and
That is
stay
the
up
only
there.
thing as
And then,
well. It's a small fortune to travel up there.
yeah. Yeah. Which, yeah, is crazy. And then, I'm trying to remember. Oh, are like, what is your dream venue to play at? besides
Ooh,
your? It sounds like you really like the local Kent one, but
yeah.
like, do you
Always
want
a
to do like
special
the
place
O2
in my heart
Arena?
for that one. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think like smaller, kind of smaller, like mid to medium high capacity ones that I
Mhm.
think would be awesome to play would be the Lead Mill in Sheffield is a really nice looking venue. I'd love to
Mhm.
play there. And then the O2 have the O2 academies, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
either like there's like one in each kind of majorish city. So like there's O2
Mhm.
Academy Islington in London, which would be a great one to play at.
Yeah,
And they've got those kind of all over the country.
yeah.
And just to shout out the O2 Arena, anybody who's listened to this show might think that sounds familiar. That is where Emergency Break filmed their documentary, and that brings me to my next question: of do you know Emergency
Mm,
Break? Are you familiar with them?
yeah, we played with them. So they supported us at our headline show in London in August,
Mhm.
and then they were gonna play with us again in September, but it fell through. But yeah, it'd be great to play with them again. They're definitely quality, amazing live, and
Yeah,
yeah, always good to see them. Yeah, so it'd be great to gig with them again.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that for us, they definitely started off our because as someone has one of our buddies back here in the States, we're like, how come you're interviewing a lot of British bands all of a sudden? And we're like, well, they said yes, so
yeah. It started with them and the IDKs,
yeah,
and ever since then
Mm.
we've been on a roll with really talented up and coming DIY British bands, and we're loving it. It's great because Christian and I love new music, so
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah,
good way
nice.
to get exposed to new music, and then we get to talk to you guys. I mean, like, how often do you get to talk to not only somebody
Yeah,
across the entire
not
world,
often,
but somebody
definitely.
who's making stuff that you like?
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, always nice to do it.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of version, they've talked about how like sometimes getting into the London music scene can be a little difficult. What
Mm.
has your experience been with that?
Yeah, I think I'd definitely say so. They're from London, I think. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, but definitely coming from Kent as well. It's like, as you say, like almost to do with the transport from it. It's like
Hmm.
it's hard to get people to come up because it's expensive. You know, it's like on top of the ticket for the gig already, and then drinks while you're up there, maybe food as well, and then travel.
Yeah.
It's expensive to get people to come up, and it's kind of as well, it's like harder to build kind of like a rapport with venues
Hmm.
up there because like I guess what's nice about say the Forum in Kent is that like they
Yeah.
know us well and they'll put us on like the bill with other bands who are maybe doing a UK tour, and when they play at the Forum they'll get us to support them, which is really nice because
Yeah.
obviously like
That is nice.
they're going to sell the place out, which is nice to build kind of a
Hmm.
fan base for us. But it's definitely harder to do that in London when we don't really know the venues and their managers and stuff, and like then going having to, you know, pay to go up there and then play the gig up there. It's definitely hard to kind of
Yeah.
break into it.
Yeah. Yeah. We emergency great break gave us this like really I think small local place to grab a drink at that has very affordable
Signature.
prices called what was it, Weatherspoons?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
If you
spoons.
saw me before that, I started to crack up because I couldn't even pull off that bit of the giant massive chain that is
No,
yeah.
spoons
Weatherspoons
is
that has.
huge. Yeah,
You
and
got me too. I answered with where they throw their festival. You went with Weatherspoons. That's hilarious.
yeah,
I
no,
think they even have
spoons
a hotel
is
now.
huge. Yeah, yeah, they've got Weatherspoon
Yeah,
hotels at like a few places now in the UK.
which
But yeah, it's
seems
massive, and obviously
bonkers.
the drinks are so cheap.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
And I wanted to ask real quick too, because you were mentioning how expensive it is to get to the shows, and if you play in London, and
mhm.
getting people there is tough, and all that stuff. Um, this spawned from, because when I was in bands, I couldn't even get my family to show up
Yeah,
to these, and they're 15 minutes away from home. Do
that's
you,
because they
like,
don't like you.
well, they don't like me or my music. But do you like? Does your family or close relatives or friends?
Yeah,
Do you find that they'll come to the shows, or
yeah,
is it even kind of a pain in the ass for them to get there?
yeah. I mean, yeah, they always come, which is always nice. Um, yeah, so it's nice to see them there, and there'll always be a couple mates who we always
Yeah,
recognise. Always nice to see them again.
that's pretty cool.
That's great.
With the forum in Kent, is it like usually pretty busy? Are there bands coming through Kent you want to see, or are you always having to go
Yeah,
like up to London to see things?
um, yeah. I think the forum are actually like pretty good at booking like some decent acts. I saw Wheatus there last year in November, which is pretty
Ooh,
Nice.
sick one to see. Um,
yeah.
and they
Hell
get
yeah.
like those kind of small to upcoming acts to come and play,
Hmm.
which is always nice. And especially like if we've seen the band play live before and then we get put on the bill to support them, that is always something that's kind of special. And it's always nice
Yeah.
that they do for us. Like we supported a band called Stone there in October, and Isaac and I
Mhm.
had seen them play at Reading and Leeds Festival at Reading,
Oh yeah.
and so yeah, it was awesome to support them. I think when I got the email for it, I was like, "Oh, Isaac, remember Stone, that band we saw at Reading?" And Isaac was like, "Yeah, yeah, they were awesome, they were awesome." And I was like, "Oh, do you want to support them in October?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah." So yeah, he was definitely up for that.
That will bring me into one of my questions I always like to ask. I weirdly have never been to UK festival, but the thought of them is really cool to me because I found this YouTube channel called TPD TV, which their thing is going to like all the music
All
festivals.
right.
And so yeah, what's your favorite music festival in the UK? There's like a
Um,
bajillion.
yeah, yeah, there are loads, which is what's so nice about it is that there's always like, and quite a lot of them have like their apply to play forms
Mhm.
to fill out, so you can often get like a chance at playing on the lineup for them. Um, yeah, but honestly, that yeah, there's so many all throughout summer, and it's quite a thing. Like going to a music festival, like people
Mhm.
will always be talking about it. Or like, what festivals you think
Yeah.
of going to in the summer? And for all different types of music, which is what's nice about it. Um, I'd say Reading Festival was the first festival that I went to.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that's always going to be a special one, I suppose. Definitely a dream to
Yeah.
play at that one. That would be my favorite one to if we were given the chance to play at. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Boardmasters is
No.
also good. And then they have like some other ones like Truck Festival and Why Not, which also have
Mhm.
quality lineups most
Mhm.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that's one thing U.S. culture is lacking is it's like they're either giant festivals like Coachella
Hmm.
or they're like more one day events. Like we don't
Right.
really have that like camping culture, like staying out in the field with
Yeah.
the cow and sheep poop, but
Yeah.
it's
It adds to it.
it adds to it, yes. And which
Mm,
is funny because
definitely.
it's always funny to watch these videos of like for the most part the UK weather is terrible for concerts
Mm,
because it rains
definitely.
half
Yeah.
the
You can
time.
get really unlucky with it.
And then it just turns into like a mud fest where
Mm,
hopefully you have some like wellies or something along those
yeah.
lines.
Otherwise, you'll be knee deep in mud.
Yeah. And so it's just a cool thing, especially for such a small country to have like essentially every weekend you can
Yeah, pretty
do
much. I
a
think
festival.
if you wanted to and if you had the money to, definitely, because most of them are pretty expensive. It's like you could go to in the summer you could go to a music festival every weekend if you really wanted to. I think you'd probably
Yeah, yeah, and
die
it's
of exhaustion by the end of it, but still.
yeah, yeah, no, it's yeah. That is also an issue with a lot of like bigger vans, like. concert tickets. I'm not sure. Is Ticketmaster a thing in the UK? Is it?
Yeah.
And it's very much hated in the States
Yeah,
because
definitely now here as well.
yeah, of like being able to afford concerts. Do you find that an issue with and in the UK right now there is a little bit of not a financial crisis, I don't want to say, but do you find any issue with that of like with like setting your ticket prices or getting people to the venues?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more expensive. Like, I
Yeah.
think, as you say, like with Ticketmaster and stuff, there was that whole thing with like the Oasis tickets here, how it was like on demand and it just kept going up and up and up throughout the sale. And then they acted as if they weren't surprised it was going to be this high in demand.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
but yeah, like even for like gigs at like our level, I still think
Mhm.
it should be below £10 to come and see us play. I think £10 should be the absolute maximum that you should be paying
Yeah.
to come and see like a few bands play. And like even if it
Mhm.
necessarily means that we like wouldn't get as much of a cut of the money, I think
Yeah.
it's more important to get more people there than kind of make money off it, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I
For
think
now.
for
For
now.
now,
For now.
until we get greedy and
Yep.
then
Uh, until you start,
And
getting
then the
and then the
Ticketmaster
ticket
money
prices,
comes.
yeah, then the prices have gone.
bring in Ticketmaster,
Yeah.
baby. Then you get to actually see less money
Mm.
than what you're currently
Yeah.
getting because they take all of it. Uh, and so, actually, you brought up Oasis, which we always smile at because, first of all, Christian and I love Oasis, but secondly, anytime we interview anybody from the UK or
Mhm.
anywhere in Europe, we always make the joke about Oasis. And
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
answer it quick fire. Would you prefer Beatles, Oasis, or the Rolling Stones? Go.
Oasis.
Oh,
That's
That's
an
been the
easy
common
one for
theme.
me. Yeah.
That's been the
damn.
common
I have noticed that is an easy one for anybody that's been on this podcast.
Yeah.
They all choose Oasis, and
Oh,
it hurts
really?
my heart because I'm Beatles, but
Oh, okay.
I do love
Yeah.
I
Oasis.
I guess
I
musically the
think it's
Beatles
because
are a lot better technically, but
yeah.
Well,
See, I relate Beatles too much to boomer culture now,
oh,
where
really?
yeah, and like that aspect of like, oh, that's my parents' music, or like grandparents' music,
Yeah.
and like Oasis. It is funny to see like I would like I'd liked Oasis, and then like they made the big announcement, and then I was like, oh, I know all these songs that
Mm.
have
hmm
come out, and so, but yeah, it was funny to see that level, especially watching the Ticketmaster happen because I had
Yeah.
friends here in the States try to get tickets to the shows in the UK,
Really?
hmm
and they're
Mm.
like, this is harder than Taylor Swift tickets to get. Like that's the threshold of now of like ticket demand.
Definitely. Yeah.
So favorite Oasis song? We did not do well on
Oh,
Quickfire.
that is that's a good one. I like Acquiesce. That's a nice song by
Mhm.
Oasis, but Morning Glory was the song that got me into Oasis, so
Yeah.
that's another good one.
Rapid fire. Noel or Liam? Go.
Uh, Noel. I tried to take as much time as I could with that one, despite it being rapid
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
Here's a fun one that I haven't asked yet because I would prefer the latter to Oasis, but as far as UK or British bands go, would you prefer Oasis or Gorillaz?
Oasis. Yeah.
Woo! That's tough. I love Damon Albarn. I think he
Yeah, no,
is
he is great,
just
and I think
incredibly
Blur
talented.
are great, but I still think
Oh, that should
Oasis.
have been my question,
Oh, was
I
actually.
that
was
okay?
actually gonna
Yeah,
say
Oasis or Blur? Yeah, still Oasis, but I did go through a big Blur phase in like April this year, so I'm kind of expecting
yeah.
on my
Yeah,
Spotify Wrapped for that to come up for me.
yeah, because Blur is. I always forget that Blur is like the UK version of the Gorillas here. The
Yeah,
Gorillas
yeah.
are huge in America.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. I didn't actually realize that. I didn't realize how big gorillas actually were
Yeah, I
in
would.
the US.
Yeah,
Oh, it's still to this day. I saw
Really? Oh
them
wow.
maybe 7 years ago,
yeah, you
and to
did.
this day, it's still my favorite concert of all time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I would say, yeah. I feel like Blur, like Oasis, of course, was a lot big. I feel like Blur wasn't that big in the States comparatively.
Song
Yeah,
number
true.
two
They never
was
kind of
the
really.
song here.
Yeah. Oh, Blur, I think always kind of struggled a little bit more than Oasis did to
Hmm.
break the
Yeah,
US. But I think
yeah,
Oasis did still have their trouble in that kind of sense.
yeah. No, it's funny enough. I was listening today a podcast episode about Britpop and it
Mm,
exploding and like the Oasis and Blur beef, and then you had
yeah.
some other like Pulp was in there
Yeah,
as
Pulp
well.
as well.
And we like I think of it as being like all of the '90s, but really it was only like 2 to 3 years that where
Yeah.
it was really big, and so
Mm.
um,
I guess because I think both, I think especially Oasis and Blur in particular had their better albums come out in the 90s.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Kind of going back to one of Damien's questions earlier of recommendation. Is
That's four for
there
me.
any like local band that you would recommend that you just been vibing with? Like, is going to be on your
um,
Spotify like top five? Like,
on the Spotify top five, some local bands that we quite like are there's a band called Another Day who are from like the same area as us, and we've gigged with them quite a few times now over the years. So Isaac, our guitarist, it's his second cousins or something, some kind of
yeah,
relative
Okay.
like
yeah,
that. And yeah, but yeah, their quality. But yeah, yeah, definitely, they're definitely one to check out. Um,
okay,
and yeah, they're great live as well. Great to gig with.
nice.
If I may make a recommendation, which I do frequently on this podcast,
Hmm.
but to shout out a band that we actually just interviewed that I think you might like is Blue Nation.
Blue Nation. All right.
Blue Nation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I haven't heard.
they're from up in Birmingham.
Okay.
But they're more of like I would say '70s rock, but
All right.
they
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
released a new album that's
They're
Awesome.
not
like
from the
Nice.
70s, just to be clear.
Just from Birmingham.
they
Yeah.
Yeah.
from Birmingham, yeah. And so yeah, no, Damien's been vibing on them for some
Nice.
time
Awesome.
now, and
Yeah,
so
that'll
Oh,
be
months
one.
and months and
What was it?
months.
Sorry.
and
Blue Nation.
yeah,
Blue Nation. Okay. All right.
Yeah, fantastic.
yeah. Which
Um,
episode should come out
I
on
think it comes out on the 8th
the 8th of
of
All
this
right.
month?
of
Nice.
December.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
But
take a listen to it.
yeah, so highly recommend them. Christian, I know we're getting kind of to the end of
Yes.
the episode here. What kind of final thoughts do you have here? Not to bring it to Dr. Phil or anything,
No,
but what are some final thoughts?
I'm probably gonna steal the question you're thinking about
Of
stealing.
course, that's what you do.
Yep.
You show up
He'll take some
15
credit
minutes late
for
and
it
you
as
steal my
well.
questions.
Five
I'll say great
minutes.
question as well. I'll be like, oh yeah, nice.
Yes, exactly.
See?
I got to make my
But by
witness.
proxy, that's actually another great question for me, so
Yeah,
that'll
so
be
it's
5
kind
for
of
me.
like maybe another half point for you at least by
See?
proxy.
No, no, no. If what song would you recommend of your guys's as the song? If you could be like, hey, this is the song you need to listen to ours. This is like our for what you're all about. Like, what song would that be? If you had one song to give to a
One
record
song,
company, what would one song?
probably our song in Gasoline, I'd say would be the one that I'd go for.
Gasoline.
If not something off the new EP, like maybe Move Away or Batteries, but
Mhm.
maybe I think In Gasoline would be the number one.
So, in Gasoline, is that an unreleased song?
No, so that was one we released as a single last September, I believe. But
Okay.
yeah,
So, to go about that same question, if that's the one song that you would recommend people to listen to,
Mhm.
would you be willing to send that to us so we can put it into this podcast so
Yeah, of
people can
course.
hear it real
Yeah,
time?
I'll send it through.
Perfect.
That'd be
Thank
great.
you.
My last question, and this is always kind of my last question, regardless of who we're interviewing, which is, I know you're kind of you've moved, but you're kind of more or less a hometown hero in my mind, right? You're somebody who's stuck pretty close to home. You're doing big things. You're coming up in the world. But if nothing else mattered, family, friends, whatever it
Hmm.
is, if none of that mattered and it was just you, if you could live anywhere on Earth, where would it be?
Can I not pick Kent?
You can pick whatever you want.
Oh,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'd pick Kent.
So
Wow.
where you currently are,
Yeah,
you feel pretty
I'm
confident about the fact
pretty
that
happy
no
there.
matter what
Yeah.
happens,
Hmm.
no matter
Yeah.
what happens, you think you could do anything you'd ever want there and feel content.
Yeah, I think I'll be happy there.
I think that might be the first one where they like where the hometown person is like, "Yep, this is exactly where I need to be." And I kind of get that as someone who moved away from my home area and now I'm back, and like
Yeah,
there is something very comforting. And it sounds like you're
definitely.
close to your family, and like it's where all your bandmates are and all of
Yeah,
that.
which is
So
nice.
yeah, yeah,
Did you?
no,
So
it's
you moved away and then moved back?
yeah. So I
Okay.
moved. So I'm from Nebraska, and then I moved
Hmm.
to Detroit, Michigan for a little bit, then Colorado for a
Yeah.
little bit, and then it's a state called Iowa, which is
Yeah.
next to Nebraska, and then moved back home.
Hmm.
Where
Nice.
so like, not me and Damien's hometown, but it's where I went to uni for 8
Okay.
years.
So nearby?
Yeah, so about
Hmm.
so a thing we like to
45
do,
minutes.
yeah. So what we do in the Midwest, or at least a lot in the States, is we don't do by distance. We do by time it would take to drive
Right.
there, specifically to drive. So about 45, 50 minutes
Yeah.
um
From our hometown.
from our hometown. So
Hmm.
and then Damien is very far away in Los Angeles.
Do you think you'd ever
Never
go
looking
back?
back, baby.
No?
No. Nope. Not at least not in my current mindset.
Hmm.
I mean, there's probably things that could occur in life that would take me back.
Yeah.
However, I can safely say I would go back for a period of time and then move away again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the score on this episode was, I believe, 4-2. So I win as far as it goes for questions. But I
Yeah.
do believe that this is one of the first times in a while that staying in your hometown has won.
It is.
So that actually overall wins the episode.
All
So
right, there
I
we
will
go.
allow this time for Christian to gloat and brag and talk about how great he is this episode. And with that, thank you, Scott, for coming on.
Thank
Before
you
we
very much for
end,
having me.
please plug. Yes, of course. Anytime, man. Anytime you guys have a new song or EP or album, let us know. We'll have you back on.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
But before we go, please keep in mind, this comes out kind of in the future
Yeah.
from now. So plug your socials, plug your Spotify, and plug any maybe future dates that you have
Yeah.
so that people can find you.
Yeah. So we're Entropy Band _ on TikTok, on Instagram. Give us a follow there, obviously, and on Spotify, it's just Entropy. If you ever struggle to find it, just go onto the socials and then take the link in bio. And yeah, that's where you'll find us. Give a stream to our new EP, and yeah.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming on, Scott. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And until next time, make sure you tune in for their song, In Gasoline.
There we go.
Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
friends.